Sir, yes, I think, sir, now the quorum is complete, and I welcome at the outset on this DEF Expo 2022, run up to the 2022. We thought that this is the good time to discuss certain very important issues which are for the 21st century India and the way forward, where we can go to the self-reliance in the defense arena. And the the whole idea behind it is that true Atmanirbharta will be achieved when the products are designed, developed, innovated, and produced in the country. And thus we thought that the title of the seminar would be Building Ecosystem for Advanced Technology-Based Systems in the Country. Now, with this brief background, I would play the video of the DDP, which is a mandatory requirement for us for the DEF Expo 2022. I request the co-host to play the video. So we have very eminent set of panelists today, starting with Dr. G. Satish Reddy, Secretary DDR&D and Chairman DRDO, Shri Ashish Rajwanshi, President and Head Adani Defense and Aerospace, Professor Ram Gopal Rao, Director IIT Delhi, Air Marshal SPP Sinha, PVSM, AVSM, VM retired, and Dr. S. Guruprasad, former Director General DRDO and distinguished scientist. Now, these eminent set of people who are with us today, we all know, but I would like to give a small introduction about them. Dr. G. Satish Reddy has been our mentor and Secretary DDR&D and Chairman DRDO. He has been the person behind the navigation systems which have been developed in the country, and the self-reliance in the country in this area is because of Sir today. And he has been spearheading many DRDO programs, including the ASAT, which was a very good success. And it has proven and taken us as a country at the 4th place in the world. Similarly, various SAMs and various anti-tank projects which have come up very fast in last few years was his brainchild. Not only that, there is a lot of policies which he has brought in for the ease of business doing for the defense R&D, and the kind of policies which are the very fast DOTs which are coming up, then DCPP partners which are being selected, and the policy on materials and policy on the various kind of semiconductors, where he has been joining us is Professor Ram Gopal Rao. Also, Professor Ram Gopal Rao is Director IIT Delhi, an eminent academician. He is a fellow of IEEE. Also, he was editor of IEEE Transaction. He has published 480 research papers, has 49 patents. Out of them, around 18 are the issued US patents. He is very prolific in the area of nanoscale devices and nanoelectronics. And he is a co-founder of two deep tech startups at IIT Mumbai, NanoSniff and SoilSense. In fact, he has a very good entrepreneurial efforts which he has taken to promote academia with the deep technologies. Another very eminent panelist that we have is Ashish Rajwanshi, President and CEO of Adani Defense and Aerospace. He is passionate to set up an ecosystem of indigenous capabilities in defense and aerospace within the country. And he is also a very prolific in Adani, in all other offices also, President of Strategy and Chairman Office at Adani Group, working very closely with the group chairman. Also, he spearheads Adani Group's agenda of growth with sustainability in creating a 100 years organization. He, prior to joining Adani, he worked for across international markets, and he has got varied experience in many firms. And his name is among the top 40 under 40 leaders. So nice to have you here with us. And we have with us former DG DRDO, PC and SI, Dr. Guru Prasad. He is a mechanical engineer, and he has 30 patents to his credit. And he has been, working very closely as a joint technology group with US. Also, currently, he has started a group, InnoGP Technologies Private Limited, as a startup to quench his thirst for creativity and to continue to contribute to the defense R&D. Now we have our another panelist who is also an eminent person from the Air Force, and he is he has been with the Air Force from 1979 as a pass out from NDA. He has taken various roles in DRDO, which include, the latest one includes Deputy Chief of Air Staff, Assistant Chief of Air Staff Plans, and Principal Director of Directorates of Plans, C4ISR, and Acquisitions in Air Headquarters. So he is also a recipient of many commendation certificates and PVSM, AVSM, and VSM during his career. He is a very accomplished pilot. He has flown Hunter, MiG-21, Mirage 2000, and Su-30 Mk1. So very nice to have all of you, sir, here. And regarding this seminar, we have certain questions which may try to answer. Basically, is how industry, R&D labs, and academic institutes join hands and bring our institutes in the top 100 in the world ranking. How to improve the quality of learning and research, how to stop the brain drain, how to make the industry internships very effective and a learning experience, and how to create opportunities for students. So, and how to work very closely with all the R&D organizations. With these kind of questions in our mind, I hand over the discussions to Dr. G. Satish Reddy to give his views, and then discussion with all of us together.
Good afternoon, Professor Ram Gopal Rao, Air Marshal Sinha, Sri Ashish Raghuvamshi, Dr. Guru Prasad, Dr. Ranjana, Sri Ajay Dubey, and all others who are present on this webinar. Once again, very good afternoon and welcome you to this webinar on a very specific and important topic, building the ecosystem for advanced technology-based systems. Firstly, Honorable Prime Minister has given the call for Atmanirbhar Bharat, that is self-reliant India, meaning the systems what we need to develop the systems within the country and we should produce those systems here in the country. Also, meaning is that you have the know-how and know-why of the system, you have the complete design and development capability, and you are not strategically dependent for anything from outside unless it is available very commercially and things like that economically. That's a separate issue. So this is the basic thing when we say self-reliant India, and the country has been working in this direction last few decades. The DRDO being the main R&D organization for the defense, trying to develop many systems, and then the industry has come a long way. Even the academia has come up in defense technologies. There are many universities who have come up. And today, I can say that we are confident, we are matured in many of the systems. Today, we have complete confidence in our own missiles, radars, sonars, torpedoes, electronic warfare systems, armored vehicles, guns, fighter aircrafts, and communication systems, and all that. So, and the industries have come up from build to print stage, which when I joined and all that we used to see now, the industry is able to make the systems based on specifications, build to specifications, and in niche areas, R&D is also good. A lot of academic institutes, a lot of professors are able to contribute like any other defense scientists specific to the area and working on many defense projects, and many verticals have come in many universities working in this research area. This is the long journey what has happened. But then the point is, it is now make in India, and the call is also for make for the world. Meaning, not just you are making the systems for this country, you have to make and export the systems for the entire world. When you say that, you have to export the systems, your systems are sellable. You should have the value for the product, which primarily first parameter of it comes as an advanced system. It's a technology not of yesterday's, it is today's and tomorrow's. So if you have a technological edge in the system, you will be able to sell the product. Meaning, we have to start making now advanced technologies based systems. If you are basing a system, there should be advanced technologies in that. The system should be innovative, and system should be of state of the art, and not the system which actually 5 years back somebody has made and now we also have made. So this calls for a completely different outlook and the change in our strategies and mechanisms what are in place. Particularly when you say today the advanced technologies, unlike earlier, the technologies are fast changing. The war scenario is completely changing. You can say that every year or every 2 years also. So we need to cope up with this change in the fast change in the advanced technologies. We should be forecasting and we should be working on these advanced technologies and with future in mind. So to make that, we all need to work together, all the stakeholders. How we can work together, how can we make this happen is one of the important things what we need to discuss. So there have been some mechanisms, particularly in the Defense Research and Development Organization, working with academia, establishing centers of excellence. There are about 10 centers of excellence in various IITs, NITs, and other places, working on very specific areas, which are actually doing well. Then there are many projects which are given through research boards, Naval Research Board, Life Sciences Research Boards, aeronautics, and related things, projects to the academia, and through other mechanisms of industry, over and above the development contracts which are being given part of the projects. Let's say you are taking a project, there are many subsystems and things like that, are a section which is given and as a development contract to the industry, which industry develops and later produces. That is one scheme. There have been number of technology transfers. You completely develop it and transfer the technology, which I think amounts to about 1400 technologies which have been transferred today. And then later, a concept has been brought in which is called development cum production partner. Meaning when you take up a D&D project, right at day one, industry joins, industry also sails along with the scientists, work together, mingle together, understand everything. So end of the thing, the first prototype itself comes from the industry, not from the R&D organization, but from the industry, so that the trials will be happening with the units which are coming from the industry. And the industry is very clear and everything is automatically transferred. The technology, what happens is one of the mechanisms. So these are all some of the existing mechanisms over and above that facilities and other things and working together and making everyone look as one, the all-round. Now, when you look at it, now the new things have already come in. Why not we have a special purpose vehicle between an industry and DRDO to develop a project? Then why not we have R&D happening in the industry also? This is another thing. Another important thing, how we can work together. And these together jointly and synergetically, I'll repeat, I think probably we must have lost here. I'm saying that these centers of excellence in academia, whatever the work is going on, for the advanced technologies based systems which are coming, not I'm talking about pure TRL level 1 and so this is all the various mechanisms we should look at, think and come out how we can have a faster development of advanced technology systems in the country. This is the important thing. And I think I will stop at this stage here and then let us have all the other panelists give their views. In the end, again, we can discuss and also deliberate and also take the questions from the audience. Thank you very much.
Shri Ashish Rajwanshi, may I invite you to share your thoughts on this topic?
Thank you, ma'am. Good afternoon, Honorable Secretary and Chairman DRDO, Air Marshal SBP Sinha, the dignitaries from the forces and the industry veterans. I'm Ashish Rajwanshi.
May I interrupt? Your voice is not very clear. Could you keep the microphone nearer?
Any better?
Actually, it is very clear to me.
Is this clear now?
Yeah, very clear.
Okay, wonderful. I would like to take this opportunity to first thank DRDO and Ministry of Defense for giving me an opportunity to speak at this webinar. Technological superiority of one adversary over the other has arguably been the biggest difference between the victors and the vanquished throughout the history. And this fact is becoming a lot more pronounced as the world is shifting rapidly from a conventional to a more technology-driven, non-conventional war. One of the examples which I want to share with you before we go into technology ecosystem is the advances we have seen in one of the key domains in defense, which was largely unheard 2 years back, which is counter-drone technologies. The entire world today is grappling with the fact that how does one effectively counter the threat of rogue drones How do we counter a technology which will fundamentally redefine multiple aspects of our lives? The way we travel, the way we get our online deliveries, the way we get our pizzas delivered, and needless to say, the way we are going to fight our wars and conflicts in the future. We are essentially talking about a technology that is growing leaps and bounds and breaking the Moore's law every single day. And counter-drone is one example of how technological moves in defense and security have to be agile enough to counter the threats that can significantly evolve with every single day. Over the last 6 decades, and more important in the last 2 decades, Indian defense has made significant progress in defense research. It must be noted that more than 60 successful tests have been carried out by DRDO in the last 1.5 years. Major weapon systems like Astra, Arjun Mark A, heavyweight torpedo have been handed over to the Indian Armed Forces. However, much remains to be accomplished. We still did import our last batch of fighter aircrafts, the armed unmanned aerial vehicles, the medium lift helicopters, and continue to stay dependent on the foreign OEMs. One of the key steps that has been initiated under the leadership of Dr. Reddy has been the DCPP, or what we call Development Cum Production Partner Program. We are proud to be associated with DRDO on 3 key programs under DCPP. I got an opportunity to actually spend the full day yesterday in RCI. And one thing which I want to share with all of you is the seamless integration of the private sector and the DRDO scientist. We are working on a program called LRGB, which is Long Range Guided Bomb. And this is going to be a replacement or import substitution of the bomb which we have been importing for the last many years. And when I look at the team on the ground, I wasn't able to differentiate whether these are the DRDO team or the Adani team which is working here. The second thing which has happened with DCPP is the access which has been given to the private sector to the physical and intellectual resources of DRDO. The degree of openness and the progressiveness among all the stakeholders to work closely with the industry is highly evident in the last couple of years. Along with this, some of the progressive steps taken in the union budget, mainly the 68% allocation to the domestic industry, the 25% R&D spend allocated to the private industry, are again steps in the right direction. There have been multiple other schemes like IDEX, Technological Development Fund, which have started to encourage indigenous development in defense. At Adani Defense, one of the centerpieces of our strategy has been to address the imminent needs of the nation with an eye of the emerging security challenges. Today, we have developed completely self-sufficient ecosystem across multiple areas, including unmanned aerial systems, counter drones, arms and ammunition, software-defined radios, electronics and avionics, and the latest one, which is maintenance, repair, overall, MRO capability. But where do we go from here? As Dr. Reddy mentioned, what do we need to do now going forward to look at more advanced technology? The first thing which is important in any ecosystem is to clarify the roles of different players. I think it's important to understand and demarcate what we expect DRDO to do, the forces to do, MSMEs and tier ones to do. Today, what we are seeing is a little bit of a potpourri in which MSMEs and small players with their capabilities they've developed are taking parts and system integration projects on L1 basis. And many a times, because of their investment appetite or risk appetite, are not able to deliver the requirements to the forces put forward by the forces. With due respect, we do see a little bit of hoarding of contracts by the DPSUs, despite the push from Ministry of Defense and DRDO on giving a level playing platform to the private sector. It's important that the private sector complements the public sector capabilities, and at the same time, public sector gives space to the private sector to participate. The 68% allocation which has been done in the budget, if 65% go to the DPSU, I don't think we are meeting the required targets from the Honorable Prime Minister. One of the genuine requests I have on this platform is we need to have some soft targets of this allocation between the private and the public sector also going forward. There's an important role which the tier one industry has to play. We also have to migrate from build to spec to build to print and start participating proactively in the research and design platforms. One of the countries we need to learn the lesson is the country which is most innovative, and we have multiple partners who are working with us, which is Israel. One of the key lessons which we learned in the early days is the co-location of industry, academia, and the customer in a single location. And one of the great examples which we see where this has been adopted in India was the recently concluded Meher Baba competition. The requirements from the forces, the industry, and the startup kids from academia actually came together to make this program successful. In the early days in 2019, we actually looked at the Delhi University, the Delhi DIT University, and there were these young kids, 22 years age, who were working on swarm technologies. What they were missing was a large platform. What they were missing was the mentoring and guidance from the industry. We got this ecosystem to become part of Adani and connected them to the Indian Armed Forces. And that is how these kids flourished over the next couple of years. The trials, which concluded exactly 1 year back in Jaisalmer, made flare, made new space, and the kids from Daksha actually come out victorious. The second thing what we need to focus on is how do we shorten the cycle from design, prototype to adoption. As we start focusing a lot more on research and development technologies, it's important to accept the mistakes are going to happen. But we cannot stop there. The example I'm talking about, the two programs we are working very closely with DRDO, meets the requirement of the forces, but it's important that the forces are also accepting these projects immediately. We are going to evolve these requirements, we're going to evolve these platforms going forward. But today, if I have a 100 kilometers, 1000 kg LRGB bomb which is ready, I would request Indian Air Force to consider and take it to adoption. Lastly, I just want to say that technological advancement and building this ecosystem is now inevitable for India. This is not only going to give us a technological edge, but will also promote industrial growth, will also promote employment and job creation opportunities in the country. We from Adani stay committed to the mission. Thank you.
I think may I request Professor Ramgopal Rao?
Thank you, Dr. Reddy. I'm sorry, I'm still recovering from my last COVID, so I have a little bit of cough and all that. But I think this is a very interesting and important topic. I will come from the academic institution perspective because I think on this panel I am representing the academia. If you look at India and the academic institutions, there is a lot of knowledge generation that is taking place. India is currently ranked third in the world when it comes to knowledge. So we are only behind China and US now when it comes to the research output and all of that. But what is definitely missing is the relevance part of it. Though there is research happening, but we tend to follow whatever is happening in the North America, Europe kind of countries and pick up those topics and do research and publish more papers. I think that we are doing pretty well. And one thing which needs to, as I said, happen is the relevance. So we need to connect with the stakeholders. And at IIT Delhi, in fact, that is something that we tried to do a few years ago with the DRDO, with the help of Dr. Satish Reddy and others. We created this joint advanced technology center at IIT Delhi. And now after 3.5 years, when we look back, almost like 100 faculty members, 150 PhD students working on DRDO defined problems. And that I can tell you has made all the difference to the culture on the campus. Now people are very closely working with the DRDO scientists, and in every team there are DRDO scientists, there are IIT faculty, there are students, and now starting from hopefully next month or so, we should be seeing almost every month or every 2 months a technology that should come out of this kind of an effort. And it has taken some amount of time, some amount of funding and all of that, but I think the results are there for everyone to see now, and that is what needs to happen. I think we need to bring relevance to the research that is happening in our institutions. Now, building on that model, I think one of the things that we also need to do is to boost that innovation ecosystem in the country. We need to connect our topmost academic institutions with the societal problems, And for example, IITs today graduate something like 1500 PhDs every year, and we file something like 1000 patents every year, just IITs alone. If you look at universities and other places, a lot more is happening in that space. But the biggest challenge is not many of these patents and not many of these PhDs are looking at innovation, are looking at entrepreneurship as an option. The entrepreneurship is happening more at the BTech level, at the undergraduate level, but not much entrepreneurship kind of an activity is happening at the PhD level. So now the question is, can we change that? Now, unless we involve the faculty members and the PhD students, the deep tech innovation will not thrive. If you look at the BTech students, they will do startups, but most of them are, business model kind of innovation, the e-commerce kind of a space. All the unicorns that you are seeing are coming out of that effort. There is yet to be a unicorn out of technology areas from this country. There has not been any technology focused company, deep tech kind of a focused company, which has achieved the unicorn status. So how do we change that? There are multiple things that need to change. I am myself an entrepreneur. I have developed an electronic nose kind of a system, which is now commercially available for explosive detection and all of that. I think one of the biggest challenges I see right now is, if expecting a faculty member to take the patent all the way to a product is asking for too much. And even if one or two of us succeed, expecting that everybody will succeed is also not going to happen. So I think what we need now in the country for deep tech innovation is what I call India Labs. For want of a better name, I call it India Labs. Let it be an SPV kind of a model. And what this India Labs will basically do is, it will scout for IP from academic institutions. It will basically screen what is the IP that is getting generated out of these institutions. And then it will put project teams around this IP, because faculty members will only be able to take the IP from, let's say, a TRL 1 or 2 to TRL 3 or 4, but they will not be able to take it all the way to 8 or 9. So we need this kind of a laboratory which will have experts, and these experts, for example, will have people who have a good assessment of market, people who have expertise in product development, people who have expertise in manufacturing, in regulatory approvals, in overseas marketing. I think these are the teams we need to build around this IP that you acquire from academia. And along with the faculty and student teams, you also implant these people now, these experts around that IP. And with the help of this team effort, now you enhance the TRL value of this IP, and then you take that technology either to a startup or license it to an industry. I think that needs to happen at the national level. And at least, this India Labs, which I am proposing, needs to be working on 100 IPs now. Because like I said, every year, if you are filing 1000 patents from just IITs alone, and imagine taking 100 IPs, this India Labs working on 100 IPs, and with these teams together, in a matter of 18 months to 3 years, can we churn out now more startups in the deep tech space? It will be that one-stop place where not only the funding will be taken care of, but all the expertise that is required to boost the TRL of this technology will also be taken care of. That is what is missing right now. In fact, if you look at Taiwan, Taiwan has an exactly similar kind of a place called ITRI, ITRI, that is known as Industrial Technology and Research Institute. All the major companies that you see that have come out of Taiwan, whether it is, TSMC or UMC or any of those companies, they have all come out of the ITRI kind of a place. That ITRI is the place from where all of these companies have come out. Why has it come out? Because they act as an interface between industry and the academia, and their job is to take this IP and then put it out into the market at a much higher levels of TRL and all of that. In India, that is what is missing, and it's a huge struggle for a faculty member where a lot of research, a lot of innovation is happening, to take that all the way to a product level. I think, if you can do that, if you can create that SPV kind of a thing, jointly, maybe, since Dr. Satish Reddy is here and Adani and many of you are here, if something like that can be created here as a bridge, I can tell you, there is so much of innovation potential in our academia, and much of that can be put to good use for Atmanirbhar Bharat and for taking India, to the next level as far as the innovation is concerned. I'll stop here. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Can I request Air Marshal Sinha?
Thank you, Chairman, sir. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I will try and bring users' perspective into this discussion based on my almost 40 years of experience in the Indian Air Force. What I have found, and most of you also may be realizing, that when it comes to military development, capability development, and also R&D, it is generally focused around hardware. No doubt, the hardware is crucial because this is what will determine our capability to deter our adversaries, and also if there is a conflict, it will decide the outcome in our favor. But as is often said, what matters the most is the men and women behind the machine. And how do these men and women cope up with the hardware that is provided? It is primarily based on training. So what I'm going to do in my discussion, I'm going to suggest two options of developing software applications which will significantly enhance the training capability and our ability of a personnel to use these hardware that we are devoting our effort into building. In flying, one of the most important training aids is a simulator. For fighter flying, you generally have a fixed base full mission simulator. Every fighter station has one FPS simulator. Now, this simulator is for use by all pilots of all the squadrons of that station of similar type. That means there could be one squadron or 3 squadrons of similar types. But when you go for combat operations, you do not fly single aircraft. You fly aircraft in formations. Simulators which come at a cheaper cost and be able to position these simulators, maybe 5 or 6 at each station. You could have a situation where 4 Rafales from Ambala and 4 Su-30 from Jodhpur are flying together in a formation, and they are practicing against 4 Mirage 2000 and 4 Jaguars taking off from Gwalior. And the network available to you is the fiber optics networks of the Air Force network, which is already available. How to go about building these applications for the virtual reality simulators, I will be able to help you, guide you, and put you in touch with the concerned Air Force authorities. This is something which will enhance our training significantly, and it will come at a very cheaper cost. And it will give enhanced capability to each and every pilot, because a pilot may be able to fly 2 sorties in a day. But if the simulation is available, you could fly, in addition to the sorties, you could fly simulator sorties. The next thing that I wanted to propose to you is, as you are aware, in fighter flying, the training is absolutely realistic because the own side and the simulated enemy side, everybody gets airborne and you get into combat and you fire weapons. The only difference is that instead of live weapon at trigger press, the simulated weapon is fired. But what is most important is if there were 20 aircraft engaged, when you fire simulated weapons, when 1 or 2 or 3 aircraft are shot down, those aircraft do not disappear from the scene. And therefore, to bring in reality, what we do is something called kill removal. People like us sit on the ground as umpires, and we on RT declare that, okay, this aircraft is killed and there is a specified place he exits the combat, and that is how you simulate kill removal. The entire Air Force sensor system is networked through Integrated Air Command and Control System, ISCCS. The entire aircraft are networked through the operational data link. So the 3D real-time intercept position of each aircraft is known, which weapon the pilot has selected and launched at what time is known, and these 3D relative positions and the weapon used can be used by the software application to do kill removal, wherein the pilot who is shot can be declared successful, and the pilot who has been shot down can be declared dead and he exits the combat. And this will bring true realism in our combat training. It will be a total game changer as far as our training goes. And like the earlier application, anybody who is interested to discuss it with me, I will facilitate this, and I'll also put them in touch with the relevant concerned authorities of Indian Air Force. This is all that I had to submit. Thank you.
Thank you, Air Marshal Sinha. Now I request Dr. Guru Prasad to give his perspective on this subject.
Thank you very much, sir. And I am very glad to be on this panel. Thanks for including me to share my thoughts on the particular topic. I start with the quote by a famous NASA engineer who stated, Joseph Gavin, the designer of the lunar module. His quote is, I quote, "If a major project is truly innovative, you cannot possibly know its exact cost and exact schedule right at the beginning. And in fact, if you know, that means you are working on something which is not state of art or which is something obsolete." So the same thing, the DRDO sailed through all these phases wherein we got used to the bashing by the environment for time delays, time overruns and other things. Of course, led by our very honorable users. They were right to some extent, but at the same time, that is the time when we started growing. Now, if you see just the last 2 to 3 years, the kind of accolades the DRDO is receiving, it is because of the hard work done over the decades and because of the ecosystem that has been developed. So what is this ecosystem that the DRDO has built and brought forward? It is basically 3 pillars. One is, number one, first pillar is the academia, the academic input, the academic research. You can call it as even basic research, scientific research. That is one thing where the ecosystem of that particular domain was strengthened. That means the laboratory, DRDO laboratory to the academia through the centers of excellence, that got very well strengthened. The second column in this second pillar is the DRDO labs, which carry out technology research in a domain research, basically the application research and the core domain research. That is one thing. The labs started producing results because they were getting excellent inputs from the academia, and it is a different language altogether, the domain research. The third thing is the development, that is system development, system engineering. Earlier, every system has to be engineered by DRDO itself because they only understood the technology in depth. So unless you understand technology, you cannot probably deploy it or apply it in a system. So that was the lesson. This is especially the trademark of how the advanced technologies or the system development takes place, be it the fighter aircraft or missile systems or even the battle tanks. So these all come into the domain of the area of advanced technologies. The most important thing to understand this is the 3 pillars are there independently standing, but at the same time there is a blurring of their edges. So this is what essentially needs to be done. And another thing is the central pillar which is there, that is the DRDO labs. They are the mainstay which will actually absorb the analytical knowledge and translate into an applicable system design so that the system designer can carry out. As most of us are engineers, we can relate the engineering. It is not just this application of science. There is a lot of innovation coming here. That is art part of it, which is coming here. The art and science, when it combines, that is what is engineering, because it provides multiple solutions for the same problem, even though science provides only one solution for one problem. So the technology is what exactly is when you apply very intelligently, innovatively, a scientific solution or a scientific effect into a measurable or actuatable technology. So here, what DRDO exactly did was this: they partnered with the industry, especially the missile cluster is a classic example how they partnered with industry, nurtured industry in the IGMDP program. Especially the BDL became a natural choice where even the prototypes rolled out of BDL. That is how the BDL itself was nurtured. DRDO scientists were working inside BDL, and that is how the systems were developed. But if you see the last 2 years, the number of flight trials that have been carried out, it is the complete maturity of all the subsystems that go into that. So that is what is happening across DRDO. Now is the time where industry has to get maturity in applying technology into development of systems, that is putting up of systems. So that is what exactly is happening, and that is where the DRDO needs to come in and hold hand of the industry. If you want to learn a language, you should learn from a person who has mastered that language. That is what exactly is needed. If industry is coming up with like R&D centers, then obviously they have to get engaged with the DRDO labs and DRDO ecosystem. Now coming to two very important changes that are required in the modern the warfare, the military environment that is coming up. There two things are very important. One is you have to be very, very agile, fast. You cannot wait for something to develop this thing, no, very, very authentically or anything like you in previous years used to wait for that. It is like a soup is getting cooked, but if you wait for that, you will not get it. It has already become cold. That is the situation we have landed. So if you have to become part of the evolution, and evolution you have to accept as your part and parcel. You cannot wait, I will take it only when everything is proven, everything matured. It is not going to happen like that. In the future, the systems have to be accepted. When you have a first whisk of proof, it is going to function. That is the time itself you have to place your orders. And then allow systematic midlife upgradation, or what we call it as famously we call it as pre-planned product upgrades that has to come. Many times my armed forces friends, they complain, no, we have to plan for maintenance, you have to plan for that. Yes, that is all, that you have to learn how to do it in the new ecosystem. That is very important. Second thing is, who will be the driver when the new ecosystem develops? It is not the acquisition system that has to be the driver's seat, because innovation and technology development cannot be driven by an acquisition system. It has to be in the hands of DRDO, obviously, because DRDO is the powerhouse of both technology development and both innovation. They have to continue to hold the hands of both, one side academia, because academia also wants directions. What is the direction in which discipline research is required to fulfill the aspirations of the technology? And then at the other hand, the industry also, the hand has to be held. And that is the role of the DRDO that is required in the new ecosystem. Now coming to this thing, the recent lessons learned in what is the warfare, changing warfare scenario is very important. I will bring in 1 minute, I will bring in a very important aspect. The recent conflict of Azerbaijan and Armenia is a classic example. Armenia is by far more educated and more scientific, but they did not win the war. Who won the war was Azerbaijan, where simple reason, they adapted quickly into a new technology. That is the drone technology they got involved in. See, this technology, you cannot, there is no tomorrow here. You have to do today. You have to act today, because any weapon system or any new system that comes in, it comes when there are no counter systems. Counter systems always lag behind, and this is the time you have to be ready with that. This is where I again go back to my quote that it is cooking, but if you wait, you are going to be hungry. That is what is the situation. The armed forces have to wake up, and they have to hug this system and nurture the people who are doing the development in these domains. And there is no foreign player will give you an authentic drone system. You have to be aware that this complete technology package is available within the country. Capabilities are all the technologies that are required to build drones and operate them either in swarms or in solo are already developed and available in India, and especially with DRDO. So this is the thing which industry has to understand, and which the armed forces have to understand. And to put it, the final aspect, point I want to make is, unlike yesterday, you cannot dictate my operational requirements are like this or my QR is like this. No, today is the technology drives everything. Technically and technologically and based off the scientific principle, this is what is optimum. Now you figure out how do you use it in your tactical environment, how do you adapt your tactical environment to the available best technology, that is optimum technology. This is one more thing which is required. Sir, I share my few points. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Sir, shall we take some questions, or you will conclude something, sir?
Yeah, please take the questions. I think we are running out of time.
Yes, sir. So, sir, I'll take the first questions. Your views about the blockchain by Mr. Suraj Kumar. Any of the panelists can take it.
Can you repeat, Ranjana, the question?
The question, sir, the views.
Hello.
Is about the blockchain technology. May I request Professor Ram Gopal Rao to say few words?
Yeah. Blockchain is something which is used everywhere now. For example, in IIT Delhi, there are a couple of companies which are trying to use blockchain to track the entire supply chain management for the organic foods. Now, when you go and buy something which is called organic, who certifies it? Somebody certifies it as organic, but on what basis do they certify? I mean, where are the ingredients sourced? How are they sourced? And all of that is what they are trying to now use blockchain to do the entire tracking of the supply chain that goes into the final product manufacturing, so that you are assured that it is organic in nature. And even in IIT Delhi, we have programs where the students, when they join, they do multiple projects and then they get credits for that. And finally, when they are graduating, you need to compile all of that. Now, even there, we are utilizing blockchain technologies to see the entire career span of the student, and what all the student does, and the grades and all of that are obtained by the student. Use blockchain kind of a technology to manage it. So it's basically that supply chain management in a very systematic and organized way. And of course, cryptocurrency is one aspect of blockchain, but blockchain is much more than that. Blockchain can be used in a variety of ways in organizations right now.
Thank you, sir. Another one is comment, and the third question is interesting, which says, what is the role of future technology in development of future warfare scenario, or future technology driving the future warfare scenarios?
Basically, I think I'll answer this question. That's the actually topic's main theme also. See, you need to develop the technologies, and then systems are need to be built on that. So if you have the core technologies built, then you build the systems having this most advanced technological features. That is what actually bring the edge in the war game. So we need to, as actually it is a growth. Actually, I think Professor Ram Gopal Rao in the beginning he said when he talked about India labs. See, the basic core academia works in the TRL levels 1, 2, 3, or maybe up to 4. Then the applied research to translation research comes into picture, where they take from 3, 4 onwards, you go up to 6, 7, 8. And then the translation research to production and the system getting produced by the industry comes into picture. This is how. So if actually you become very strong in this 1 to 5 and 1 to 6, then you get multiple systems playing around the technologies. So building the technologies, future technologies, advanced technology is the prime important thing in this. And then you play around to make the varieties of systems on that. You are muted. We are not able to hear you. Ranjana?
So another question is from the MTech student who says that he is very interested in the research-oriented approach to build a startup. What can he do to bring the change? I think maybe Ashish can take this question to guide a young student.
So it's an interesting question, but I don't know who asked this question. But important thing is, what is the problem you're trying to solve? I think Professor Rao mentioned in his discussion that the BTech students are more focused on business model innovation, which are resulting into a couple of startups or the unicorns in the environment, but no one is focusing on deep tech. Yeah. So it's important to appreciate what is the purpose of the startup you're looking for. You're looking for making quick money by selling out once you have the valuation, but you're actually trying to create a difference to the user and the economy. And the way to do it is have like-minded people come together, put the idea on the paper, reach out to a couple of industry mentors who can actually make it more, I'll say, practical. And if you want to work with even a platform like Adani or any other industry players to do the prototyping, that is a way to take it forward. So.
Thank you. I will pass on this question to Professor Ram Gopal Rao also, how to guide a MTech student to take up the startup, because he has already mentored some of the startups. It's KM Supriya, actually. The name of the student is KM Supriya.
I think the idea is important, as Ashish also mentioned. If you are solving a problem, for which many people in the society are really looking forward to for a solution, which many are facing. Once you have a problem definition, then all our incubators welcome these ideas. You can write to, for example, IIT Delhi incubator saying that this is a problem that I am trying to solve and this is my approach. That's all what we look for from early stage innovators. And once your idea looks interesting, then we invite you over and then we will look at your idea. We will also see its viability and all that in all respects. And if we are satisfied, then we will provide you all the necessary funding or infrastructure support for you to implement such an idea. So everything starts with identifying a problem and coming up with a solution. And your solution has to be unique, novel, and not something which everybody is trying. It has to have some novelty. So once you have that, all academic institutions, whether it's IIT Delhi or Bombay or any institution you take, we all welcome such ideas. So I think you should get in touch with the institutions once you believe a solution to a problem.
The next question maybe to Chairman sir.
Is on this. See, basically there is a scheme in DRDO which is called Technology Development Funding. That's primarily for the startups and MSMEs. Or if a student like this doesn't have a startup, but then if you tie up and you don't have any industry or anything, you tie up with the incubation center there, and problems are also available with DRDO. They are put in the website and problems are being there. If you have an ab initio, you are able to come out with a problem, or there is a problem what is being put in by DRDO. If you take that product and if it is evaluated, the capability and everything, then the TDF fund will be given to the incubation center and work with the incubation center wherever you are there in the academic institute, and then you will continue, and later as once you have started, you know how to continue. Thank you.
I think so. The next question is also similar. Can a defense tech startup approach DRDO and can start converting the idea into the prototypes? So it's a
Same
similar
thing.
question.
Please go through the website of Technology Development Funding, TDF of DRDO. There are about 100 startups who are already interacting with DRDO and working on that and developing, working on R&D.
So, sir, would you like to add on to this question? Or I think we can move to the next question. Is India into laser tech and EM wave spectrum?
Yes, that is one of the upcoming subjects naturally. So India also works on that and working on that.
And what steps can be taken to reduce the brain drain in the field of technology?
Primarily, we need to create the opportunities, ensure that there are many avenues, working with as startups, working in incubation centers, identifying the problems and getting the right environment. And then there is also feasibility to see that there is a market. These are all the things if we are able to making the necessary environment is the one what makes that the brain drain doesn't happen. And this all what we are discussing is for that. Actually, works towards that.
Sir, I think another question is with the education system from a physics student from the Goa, Mr. Tejas Gaunkar. He says that the most of the education system is based on the memory testing and not about the applying knowledge. How can there will be some improvement in this?
I think Professor Ramgopal Rao may.
I don't know how to answer it, but I think there are all kinds of things that are happening. In fact, in IITs, we really don't test any memory in our examinations. We take pride in the fact that we test the core concepts and not the memory. In fact, when I set a question paper for the courses I teach, I have a line at the bottom saying that if you say that you don't remember something, for answering any question, you get full marks. I mean, I challenge students saying that, if you say that I have forgotten something, though I'm not able to answer, you get full marks. That's what many of us in IITs do. We don't test any memory in any way. It's always the core concepts that we test. Unfortunately, there are, institutions still which do that, but I think things are changing now. But at least our higher educational institutions like IITs, we have definitely moved away from testing the memory and rather, testing more of the core concepts.
I think that will propagate to the tier 2 universities and everywhere. Sir, another question is from Mr. Hriday Agarwal. What are the opportunities from DRDO for BTech students? I think DGTM is
Basically,
online. He can also take up this.
BTech students primarily, as you know, now the electives have been introduced in the BTech students in the defense technologies. There are all of you know that MTech courses have been brought in many universities in defense technologies in 6 verticals. Many universities in the country have started. But for BTech, it is too much of a specialization. So electives have been introduced in many institutes have taken up the electives. But at the same time, BTech students, there are opportunities given for the student to have the internship to do it in a DRDO laboratory. So as many as about 8,500 to 10,000 students are doing every year. So that's an opportunity. Try to see that you get in a internship in DRDO and then you get to know the defense technologies. From there you enter into startup or get into MTech defense technologies or whichever path can be taken.
So then another is the ICER student, Mr. Roshan Kumar asks, how do we work with DRDO? He wants to contribute to the national defense. ICER, NICERs.
ICERs are also working with DRDO on various research projects. Almost most of the ICERs are working, so he can be part of the team. Or he has any particular subject he and his professor is able to work. So then he can put it up and then the DGTM, the Technology Management Director General, will look into it and definitely give an opportunity.
Another question is, sir, by Mr. Ejil.
You have to repeat the question. We couldn't hear you. You were lost for a few seconds.
Sir, Mr. Ajilajit from Kerala wants to start a defense tech startup on the fixed wing drones. He wants a guidance how to go about it.
There are a lot of drone activities going on in the country. A lot of startups have already been working on it. A lot of startups are working with DRDO. And there are multiple laboratories which are actually working with various startups. Basically, drones actually, the work is going on in industry and startups, and DRDO is only looking at the applications and try to see that how they can be utilized. This, so it is a giant work going on using the drone. He can contact the various laboratories, ADE in Bangalore, or Young Scientist Laboratory in Hyderabad, or the laboratory at Chandigarh TBRL. These are the laboratories where you can contact them and get an answer. But actually, what I want to know is this is more on how do we actually bring in an ecosystem, what changes we need to bring in, what strategies we need to bring in. If the questions are more on that, it is good than the very specific personalized questions. You are muted, Ranjana.
There are more specific questions on startups. Basically, everybody is dreaming about the startups, that too in defense. So very difficult for us to find a question which is
No, basically we can answer like this. It is good that a lot of people are showing interest to have a startup in defense technologies. It's a very welcome move, and it's a welcome step. And the young people of this country turning towards defense technologies is a major boost to this country. And so we like to say that there are many mechanisms by which the young entrepreneurs are encouraged. One is we have said that IDEX is a form in Department of Defense Production, which is promoting innovations by funding the innovations. This is one major scheme. Second, the technology development funding, where there is a good amount of research and development, not just the innovation. That's the technology development funding scheme, which is there with DRDO. These are the two primary schemes which are actually encouraging entrepreneurs, young entrepreneurs, is one way. Second thing is, as there are so many research projects which are going on with various universities, with the Center of Excellence or other, they can actually initially join as research associates, get in touch with the technology, and then actually later enter into a startup or a industry is another way what it can be looked in. So the avenues are many. It's only that how seriously we are putting in effort, where the tie-up for the technology is there, or yourself can be doing, and that sort of a things. Otherwise, even actually IDEX and the TDF itself can take care of the needs of the people. And they are welcome, and we encourage them, and a lot of avenues. And please come forward, even with a solution or a problem, what you feel that it is good for the nation.
I think, sir, we are already overshot by 15 minutes. So I request you to conclude the session. Rest questions we can answer offline. Most of them are related to personal questions, which will be responding to them.
Okay. Firstly, let me thank all the people who have joined this webinar as audience, the people who have sent the questions, and also the panelists, all the four eminent panelists, Professor Ram Gopal Rao, Mr. Ashish Raghuvamshi, Air Marshal Sinhaji, and Dr. Guru Prasad, and everyone giving you their view. And as we could see that a lot of points have come primarily. See, one is talking from the industry perspective very clearly. One thing is Professor Dr. Raghuvamshi, what is brought in is that the roles of the research organizations and academia and industry to be very clear, and also the armed forces, and also should be an integrated mechanism that all of us are working for one single cause. This is one thing very, very clear. Second thing is for industry to invest. Invest in some sort of thing is whether it's funding or also energies or whatever it is, there should be a clear visibility of orders. This is one thing what has been brought in. Second, Air Marshal Sinha, when he was talking about, he has given actually primarily a technological perspective from armed forces side that simulation. Simulation is one of the major utility today wherein you will be able to develop the system faster, simpler, understanding better, timing better, and you are able to visualize the scenarios and all that is one more important thing what Air Marshal Sinha has brought in. Professor Ramgopal Rao, with his vast experience of working in the academic institutes and also actually working with research organizations as the Center of Excellence in IIT Delhi. His point is that firstly, we should see that there should be a concept like India Labs, wherein you are bringing in all the people together. That is the core R&D, which is actually at TRL levels 1, 2, 3, 4. This is one thing what should come from the professors. Then there should be technologies who are converting that basic research into translational research, taking from 4 to 7 or 8. And then industry is also joining at appropriate time to set up the production lines to take this into production. This is how a concept should be worked out. And if you are able to work out as an integrated team under one umbrella, then the systems will be coming much, much better is one of the things. Then Dr. Guru Prasad has given his vast experience in DRDO and now also working with startups. He has given the way he has seen that the industry has been nurtured and worked with academia and all that. But then he made a point today in the changing scenario, how best industry and DRDO can work together. What are the new models to be brought? I think this is the right point, all of you, what you have given. What I have also said right in the beginning. See, today we have some mechanisms and processes which we are working to see that these three major elements, and of course the user, we have some mechanisms are working. They have brought us to this state today. And now we need to go for one more quantum jump. That is what the nation is looking for, country is looking for, and our Prime Minister is looking for. What much more better models can be brought in today to see that we are able to achieve that goal faster. That is what we need to look at. See, today in the budget, there is an announcement which has come. We talked about here, me and I think Mr. Raghuvanshi also spoke about DCPP, Development and Production Partner. So in the budget, this special purpose vehicle has come. So there is a major project, like say a country wants to build a fighter aircraft. So instead of DRDO working, industry joining a DCPP, let's form a special purpose vehicle wherein people are put from both the sides, infrastructure is created, infrastructure is used, and then you design there, you develop there, and then you test there, and then you produce there, you market there, you upgrade it, you do the life cycle management. That is the special purpose vehicle. So this is one of the good model which has come. So why not we look at that model, and not why not we look at it. We need to incorporate that in major systems what are coming up today is one aspect. So major bigger systems, large systems when we are building, mostly I think we should go ahead with special purpose vehicles. This is one thing. Actually, I have a ready-made example for that which is doing very well is BrahMos. BrahMos is a DRDO's joint venture, a special purpose vehicle for a supersonic cruise missile. That is what actually it has gone into all the armed forces. It is producing now. You have got a export order also in a big way. So that is what is the model we need to replicate in the country. This is one. Second, by industry, academia, and R&D organizations and startup, the R&D should be expanded in every possible way in all the stakeholders. All round R&D, everyone will. And they're all working towards one single goal, jointly, as Professor Ramgopal Rao said. How do we do? So that is what actually, in fact, I wanted to ask Professor Ramgopal Rao. These centers of excellence, what we have in IIT Mumbai, IIT Delhi, and IIT Chennai, or various other institutes, what we have. Can we say that these are centers of excellence for synergetic R&D organizations, academia, and industry? all together at one umbrella in that center of excellence. They're working together. Industry also is groomed for R&D. So this is one thing actually we should think of, and then probably bring in the concept how we can make sure that it happens. And then whatever the budget announcement is there, 25% of the R&D budget should be going for the R&D into all these things. How we can best utilize it. Come out with, actually one thing is the nation, particularly the Honorable Prime Minister looks for first of its kind system coming from this nation. See, we have to come out with a product which the world has not seen. So unless we all work in the direction, 2 steps ahead, 3 steps ahead, we won't be able to make the type of a system. And that cannot happen without the help of academia or without the help of industry. And so it is all three have to sit together, and all three have to play their role, complementary roles, and work in that. Of course, R&D happens everywhere. As I said, I keep telling that niche technologies, R&D should happen in the industry also. Industry won't be able to spend too much on the R&D, but then good amount of R&D there also to happen. Otherwise, see, the spread is so much in the defense. It is one organization cannot do that much of a R&D research. So everyone has to do. See, the academic institutes concentrate more on the basic and applied research. Industry works more on innovation and research in niche areas and development. And R&D organizations work more from applied research to translational research, and working with industry in the R&D in a joint venture, SPV mode for various systems, design and development of various systems. These models, I think we should bring in, and we have to make that these are all workable models. They are ease of working, and make that these are all actually are solutions which actually everyone can utilize and make things happen faster. This is another important thing. We actually in this nation, what we need to see that whatever we think, how it can happen very fast. Time is the very important essence. Unless, see, what you develop is not very important. When you develop it is very important. So have you developed it at the right time? If you have developed some system where already 10 nations have developed and they have flooded with the imported systems, after that you're developing, what is the use? So you need to develop. So we need to create these mechanisms and procedures and policies and things like that to happen very, very fast. That is why SPV, I actually say that is a very good step where it works out of everything, and flexible models will be there and we should be able to work. So it's a very important step, and we should think more and more on that. All the audience who are present there, you have any ideas from what I said and what all my colleagues, panelists who said, please send your suggestions. We can collect all of them and try to see that we can implement it. So thank you very much for giving this opportunity. Thank you.
So my duty to thank each and every one of you, Dr. Reddy, Chairman DRDO, and Dr. Guru Prasad, Air Marshal Sinha, DGTM, who has joined us to give us the support. And I thank all the audience. In fact, I am seeing a lot of very good comments in the comments, and some more questions have come up after the question hour was over. It was really a very interesting, thought-provoking session. A lot of good ideas have come up. Many good ideas have come up from the panelists. In fact, one of the idea which has been appreciated in the comments is the India Labs, and I hope we will be able to take it forward in some form. And similarly, a lot of questions which we will be answering. And thank you. I thank all the audience which has joined and all the panelists. And we expect you to be part of our DEF Expo 2022, which is coming up from 10th to 13th of March at Gandhinagar. Thank you so much, all of you, for joining us today.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.